What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the More Than a Minute. Actually, I think we got this backwards. Hold on one second. All right, that's much better. Welcome to the More Than a Minute podcast. It's your boy, Isaac, and this is my wife,
Desiree.
Alrighty. So let's get into it. So your boy's a rapper. I do Christian hip hop, so I travel a lot, and I've been doing it for many years. It's been a long time. Like, I've been doing it more than half my life. Like, can you imagine that?
No.
But we want to talk about supporting. Is there something funny, Desiree? So the topic that we had, we didn't really know exactly like what to call it, like for a video title. When we drop this video, obviously we'll probably have something in the title, but we kind of wanted to talk about the importance of supporting each other, whether it's at our jobs, whether it's our day-to-day life, our ministries, our dreams, our goals. We believe being married that we ought to support each other. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a Christian rapper and I do travel a lot. And I've been doing it for a lot of years. So even in the early years, when we first got married, my wife would support me a lot. I'm going here, she support me. I'm doing this, she support me.
So like Isaac mentioned, one of the biggest components of being married in itself is having the ability to support each other as husband and wife. Sometimes it's hard to do. Mm-hmm. So we have a little, like a mini story time of our experience. Like Isaac said, as long as we've been married, as long as I've known Isaac, he's rapped and he's traveled to do ministry. So in our marriage, early in our marriage, when we first got married, Isaac traveled by himself. Not long after we got married, we actually had our daughter. So I didn't travel with Isaac pretty much at all, really, because I stayed home with our daughter. She was a newborn. So coming into our marriage, I knew that Isaac rapped and I knew that he traveled and he did events to go rap and minister, and he was in ministry in our church. Very early on in our marriage, I remember sitting and talking with somebody, and we were talking about ministry in general. At the time, I wasn't in ministry. I remember them telling me that as a wife, supporting each other in ministry and marriage is important, and that it was good for me to recognize that Isaac had a call on his life, that ministry was a part of his life. And so along with ministry being a big part of his life, that there was things that came with that. And there's so much wisdom in that, and recognizing that in general, that your spouse has a calling on their life. But there was a time where it was hard for me to do that. Like in that conversation, the exact words that were said was that sometimes you have to be okay with releasing your spouse to do ministry. And like I said, so much wisdom in that, because I've never been the type of person, like when Isaac goes somewhere, I'm like blowing up his phone. Like, where are you?
This is funny because I've had and have friends that are like that.
Yeah. And it's just not my nature. Like not even that, like, I don't care. It's just when you're gone, like if you tell me where you are. And so, okay, so let me say this. It's not in my nature to be like that. I've never been like that, where he leaves and I'm constantly like calling him or texting him like, hey, where are you at? What are you doing? Who are you with? Yeah. I've never done that. It's just
usually I'm where I say I am.
Well, that's what I was getting into, is that along with that not being my nature as a person, he's never given me reason to question. So that's another component that plays in that. When he goes somewhere, he's forthcoming with information to tell me like, hey, I'm going to do this. This is where I'm going to be at. This is who I'm going to be with. And not, like I said, not even that like because I'm asking, because he has the courtesy to tell me that. You know what I mean? Like it's just always been there. Yeah, that's always been there. Just that respect enough to tell me like, hey, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. So like I said, at one point it was hard for me to release Isaac without going with him, because of some things that happened in our early marriage, very early, kind of going back to you giving me all of the information that I needed, like right off the bat, instead of making me ask or making me question or making me wonder. So because of those things that happened in our early marriage, that caused me to feel I needed to know where I needed to know. Like I said, I don't usually feel like I need to know, but those things that happened that made me feel like, okay, I need like some kind of assurance that he is where he is and he's doing what he's doing with whoever he said he was going to do it with. On Isaac's part, he had, during that time where it was hard for me, he had to display a lot of patience with me and a lot of grace.
I wanted to interrupt real quick because I think it's vice versa as well. Desiree, she grew up in ministry as well. Her dad's a co-pastor. And so she has a great calling on her life. And so I had to recognize that as well and be able to release her as well when she's doing ministry, when she's going out and singing somewhere. So it goes both ways. But in the earlier part of our marriage, Desiree was a lot in the behind the scenes, working things in the background. And so I was doing a lot of stuff, I guess, on stage or public or however you want to say it. And eventually that transition and that switch. But right now we're just kind of talking about this beginning part of our marriage.
And one of the biggest keys during that time was, like I said, Isaac displaying that grace and that patience, because I feel like that's something that happens pretty commonly where at some point in marriage, trust is broken or it's bent a little bit. Maybe it didn't completely break, but it's rocked a little bit. It's a little stressed. Yeah. So between spouses, when trust is like bent a little bit, it's easy to forget that it takes time to get over those things. Right. So during those times where you feel like that trust isn't as strong as it usually is, and you know, there's reason for it. Like there's any kind of reason for it. Sometimes it happens even when there's no reason. But the most important thing in getting through that is grace and patience, because I know it's super easy like to go through those times. And so let's say during that time, I did feel like I needed to call you all the time and text you all the time. If I'm calling you and I'm texting you and you're not answering and you're upset, which is easy to do. Right. You know, I get it. But if it's during a time where that trust is not as strong as it should be or as it could be, and you're not displaying any kind of patience or grace and you're getting upset about it, it doesn't do anything to help. Right. Those things take time to strengthen again, no matter how little the trust might have been stressed or how much.
I wanted to interrupt and just add this little nugget is, if you're a man and you've done something to destroy the trust with your spouse, it's going to take time to heal that. It's not going to happen overnight. Like, you're not going to just be able to like start doing whatever you want or going places where you want. You got to have accountability, and it's going to be strict accountability. It's going to be, even if you're upset or getting frustrated that your wife's calling you or texting you, she needs that affirmation and needs that assurance that you're where you say you are and that you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing or you said that you were doing. So I just wanted to add that as a side note. It's like, especially when you shake trust in your relationship, you got to be willing to do whatever is needed to build that trust again.
And it takes time. That's like the biggest thing, because when you're going through that, I feel like it's so easy to be the other person to say like, are you still not over that yet? Yeah. Why are you still there? Like, I'm not even thinking about it anymore. Why are you still there? And that's where grace is needed, because it happens, and it happens to a lot of people.
And we're not necessarily talking about cheating or anything like that specifically in this conversation, but we're talking about just like lying where you're at and you're not really there, or saying you're gonna be doing this but you're not. So this is kind of the trust that we're talking about today.
And so kind of going back to our story, during that time where it was hard for me to release Isaac to do ministry, to travel on his own without me and stuff like that, Isaac made it easy for me to release him, even though it was hard for me. I remember during that time when you would be gone, during that time, I still didn't have to be blowing up your phone, because you would take it upon yourself to text me and to call me, to check in with me.
It's just accountability.
Yeah. And that's thankfully that's something that was there during that time, because it made it a lot easier to support him when everything in me, like in my mind, was like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Who is he with? Like, who's over there? Stuff like that. So, I mean, now kind of looking into now it makes it a lot easier, much easier to release him to do what he needs to do. Most of the time we're there now. Yeah. If anything.
And our daughter's older now, so she's able to come with us to different events that we do, even the stuff that she does, because now she plays piano and she's starting to get invited places, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So, Praise God. Now coming out of it being hard to release him, to him helping to like nurture that trust again, up until now, not only is our trust stronger and I'm able to release him, like when he tells me he's going to go somewhere, I'm like, okay, bye. Like, see you later. And
she's like, get out of here.
It's not even like now it's not even a question. Yeah. And like I said, I feel like those things are normal for us now, that it's been so many years that we've been practicing different things. When he, like, still same thing, like when he wants to go do something, I'm like, okay, like have fun, see you later. Yeah. sometimes I'm even like, yeah, you can go. Bye.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure. And she's like, no, go. You should do it. I think you should do it. And it's very encouraging. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that she supports me. And like I said, it's not like I'm doing out here in the, doing, bad stuff. This is ministry. And she's always been supporting of that. But like I said, it goes both ways, that I got to be supporting to her dreams, to her goals, to her ministry. Like even like early on when Desiree first started singing. So Desiree is a singer. She's been like on a worship team at my dad's church. She's been on the worship team at the church we're going to in Phoenix. And the first time I heard Desiree sing, I didn't think it was terrible. But what did I say?
Oh my gosh.
What did I say? I think I said like it just needs a little work, like you need practice. Like I could hear the potential throughout the years. I've been able to kind of assist her on working with her vocals, I guess, so to speak. Like I tell people, like I can't sing personally, but I could hear notes and I could hit the note. It just doesn't sound good. So I was able to help her a lot. So those are like things that behind the scenes that you don't want to watch, because I'd be singing and then she'd try to repeat how I was singing it. But she was, but I took that as a way of supporting her. And then now she has a beautiful voice. And now she's being able to share it more and more with people. It goes both ways. We got to support each other, and we can't be jealous of one another. If my wife shines, like, praise God. If she shines brighter than me, praise God. Like I'm happy for that. I want her to do better than me. I want her to shine. I want to do whatever I can to help her shine and to help her glow, because that's, I'm her husband, and that's part of my duty is to help her as well, and it goes both ways, that she helps me as well.
I mean, I agree with everything that you said. So this past weekend, actually, Isaac had wrapped somewhere. So we literally all packed our bags. Jada went with us. And so we went, all three of us, along with my mother-in-law, my father-in-law. Right. They were doing an outreach at another church in Avondale. It never gets old, like seeing him rap. As long as we've been married, as many places as I have gone with him and seen him rap.
The only thing getting old is me.
It makes me laugh, because like when we go places, I take pictures for him, I record and stuff like that, so that he can.
She's like my social media.
Yeah, if he wants to post it and stuff like that, at least he has it.
Yeah.
And I actually took a video and I posted it, and I happened to be sitting in the front row, and that doesn't always happen when we go places for him to rap. A lot of times I end up helping him with his music to play it, pause it,
and the sound.
Yeah,
playing the music.
Yeah, and so depending on where that is at the event that we're at, I don't always get like a front row seat. Yeah, usually it's far away, and I have to like play your music, find a song that's kind of longer, and then go run over to take pictures and stuff like that, and then come back before the song's done. And this event, the sound was located like right in the front, so I was sitting in the front, and I got a really good video of it, and I posted it on my personal Facebook page, and I had wrote on there that one of my favorite things in life is that for the rest of my life I get a front row seat to watching what he does, because he raps, but what you don't see in the pictures and the videos is the people that come up to him afterwards that he gets to talk to and encourage, or like the times we've gone to like events for kids or for youth, and how excited they are, because rap is another form of worship. So to see like other people being blessed by that and being able to potentially be meeting God through that, it's amazing, and I never get tired of it. And so like Isaac said, it goes both ways.
Because there's times like when she's worshiping, she's playing piano. Like recently, the last couple months, we're on the reservation. Stotnik, I believe it's called, right? Stotnik Res?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. But anyways, so we're literally like in the middle of the desert. Like literally, if I had like a 360 camera and I could just show you right now, it's literally just all desert. We're surrounded by rocks, cactus, dirt, frogs, and mosquitoes.
Lots of frogs and lots of mosquitoes.
And she's sitting there just playing and worshiping, but you can feel the presence of God so strong in that place. Like it was just like overwhelming. But she's sitting there playing and singing, and we're also hearing the crowd singing, everybody else singing, and people being touched. Like these are really things that you don't really see on the social media, because I don't know if we're just enjoying the moment or we just don't think about recording and taking pictures. But it's just being able to see that as well, and to see God use you in the area of worship. It's exciting, and it just blesses me as well.
So if you haven't known us since we first got married, for me to be playing and to be singing, these are things that I've always wanted. I'll say that first. And I've never done it. I had never done it until now. When we first met, I would not get in front of a crowd ever. When I was a kid in school, when I was in middle school, I remember very like specific moments in school. But in middle school, a teacher called on me to answer a question. And I was that kid that never raised their hand because I didn't want to say anything in front of everybody because I just wasn't comfortable. And I remember a teacher called on me. I didn't have my hand raised. So I was already like, oh my goodness, really? Yeah. And so I kind of just like sat there and I didn't say anything. And she was kind of like, Desiree, like, you got anything to say? And I was just like, I didn't even say no. I just kind of like deer in headlights. And my face got red. So I have it still happens. Like my face gets red and I can't do anything about it. It's just easier to kind of just ignore it now. But I remember my face got red and I started crying. And then a kid made fun of me and he was like, she looks like a tomato. And that was the worst thing ever.
Kids mean like that.
I know. And so that's who I was. And even up until we met, I was still like that. You would never catch me trying to talk, even in a room full of people, even if it wasn't in front of everybody, I would never.
Right.
So now Isaac's done a lot to help bring that out in me.
But going in full circle, it goes both ways. She supports me and I support her. I don't support her so she can support me, and she don't support me so I can support her. We just support each other, and then we end up growing together. And there's one thing like this quote that hit me one time. It says, you either grow together or you grow apart. And so we're on this race together. We're moving, we're going straight, and we're doing life together.
We're meant to do life together. As a couple, we're meant to grow together. One thing that can stop us from growing totally all together is not having good support.
Right.
There's been times in our lives where Isaac's been my only support.
And vice versa.
Yeah. And we just shared with somebody the other day that there's some hard things that we've gone through. We don't always talk about it, but during those times, sometimes we've had only each other to cling to and lean on besides God. Thankfully, like, we're still here.
Right. Amen.
One thing that I feel lately I've been so passionate about is that in order for us to have a healthy marriage and have a healthy family, because I feel like that's what one of my biggest passions is, not only worship, because that never goes away, but we have to have a healthy marriage. This is a component of having a healthy marriage. And in order for us to have a healthy family, like healthy family relationships with our daughter, and to display what a healthy marriage is to her, we have to have that. We have to model it, because if we don't, she's not going to see it. She's not going to know what it is. And I also believe that in that we have to be the best version of ourselves. So if that takes us doing a little reflection to see what is it that's keeping us from supporting our spouse the best that we can, or what is it that's keeping us from being able to have grace with each other or patience with each other when we need to.
Right.
Sometimes we need to do that. So hopefully this helped in some way.
Yes.
Hopefully it blessed you, because it blesses us a lot to be able to share with you guys. And
yes.
But
if you have any ideas or topics that you want us to talk about, drop a comment. Let us know. If you have any questions, let us know, and we'll answer it right here on the podcast. So thank you guys for joining in today. Isaac and Des, More Than a Minute podcast. We out.